Interesting phenomenon. We were almost casualty of this phenomenon ourselves, is that most businesses die not from starvation, but from indigestion. Not from lack of business, but from having too much business. A couple of years ago, we've tried to be vertically integrated, and we had in-house property management. I was on acquisition spree because it was low interest rate environment. We were buying like a property a week. We would buy a property, negotiate a great deal, secure financing terms, do all due diligence, close on it, and then hand over the property with a business plan, what needs to be done, to property management team, and move on to the next acquisition. That's what I was good at. Went on for a few years without kind of following up what happened to properties after we've taken it down. It got to the point where we had a lot of vacancies and the cash flow not coming in. I said, hey, this property should be cash flowing. We have so much upside, and A, our equity, and B, the new value we're supposed to have created here, where is all the money coming from? And realized that our property management team just couldn't keep up with it. When we started looking under the hood, we had to pretty much freeze all new acquisitions and say, hey, what's going on with our portfolio? And we realized we have a multi-$100 million portfolio, but property management completely dropped the ball big time, where some tenants, there's been work orders and repairs that were not being addressed. Some tenants haven't paid rent for 6 months, and nobody even bothered to follow up with them. Says, hey, we haven't gotten your rent payment for last summer. Like what's going on? And that almost killed us. We almost choked, because negative cash flow is like a snowball effect. It can get out of hand very quickly. So you gotta get rid of negative cash flow. Is like alligators. It has two purposes in life: drag you underwater and keep you there long enough so you drown. So if you have negative cash flow, it's a finite number. Sooner or later, it's going to drown you. So you got to get rid of it as soon as possible. Knowing that, we recognize, hey, we gotta put a hold on new pursuits until we figure out what the fuck is going on with our management team. So that's some numbers. We had 110 buildings, commercial buildings, roughly 600 tenants. Our leverage was pretty low. We were like 35% leverage, but we were having almost no cash flow on any of the properties. Some properties might have a cash flow and is going to feed another property because that other one was draining money. If you don't train your tenants, the tenant's gonna train you. What we had to do is that, hey, there's a new boss in town. If you don't pay your rent, you're gonna get charged late fee. Actually, we had tenants tell us, it's so crazy. Out of all the years I've been renting spaces from different people, you're the only landlord that have never charged me a late fee. So why would I pay it on time? Actually, tenant told us this. It's like, oh, I see you guys start changing late fee. Yeah, I wondered why for 3 years I never got a late charge. So I could pay rent whenever. On the 17th of the month, on next month, 2 months later, it's like, what's incentive I have to pay it on time if you're not gonna charge me late fee? So I said, well, thanks for letting us know. Appreciate the transparency. But if you don't train the tenants and say, hey, if you don't, the rent is due on the 1st, it's late on the 2nd, but you have a grace period until the 5th. If you don't get it by the 5th, there is a late fee on the 6th. If you get it by the 10th, on the 11th, we're filing court papers. We try to solve it, hiring more people, more staff, even though doing it at a loss where the cost exceeded kind of a management revenue. And finally, I was talking to a Tiger, a friend of mine from Houston, and he said, dude, I built I had whatever 10,000 apartment units. He was more on multifamily field, but I built a property management company with 200 employees, and every month I was still losing money, and it was driving me crazy. And then finally I realized, so I ended up outsourcing it, and now I'll work 5 minutes a week. I have a report from a management company. Once a month I review it for 50 minutes. Yep, everything looks good. And I said, that's pretty much what my work boils down to. And I'm the happiest man on earth. And he is happy. He travels all over the world, and he does work 5 minutes a week. So he was giving me this advice, and I was like, it was a big hit on the ego and pride. Like, hey, we're gonna figure this out. We're not gonna give up on it. And finally I said, why? Even if we're successful at this, what we're trying to solve, and we get property management to actually work, why are we doing this? We're spending 95% of our time for what? To make that extra 1% profit margin on management fees. So we realized that we suck at it. Somebody has figured out how to do it better than we can. And we ended up outsourcing all the property management. And that was taking up 95% of our time. It was giving us 95% of the headaches and problems and issues. Now we focus 100% of the time on that 5% that actually give us the most revenue and the best results. And the thing is, other people can do it cheaper than we can. So not always save money on it, they're doing much better job at it. Pay attention to your overhead and operations, because again, most businesses die not because of lack of business, but because they don't pay attention to operations and they cannot digest what they have bitten off, so to say, which almost happened to us. Luckily, thank God, we were able to, again, recognize the patterns early on, and get rid of it before it drags us down.